Pag-uusapan po natin ngayong araw ang patungkol sa in vitro fertilization o yung IVF. Isa po itong uri ng proseso ng pagkakaroon ng anak sa tulong ng makabagong teknolohiya sa pamagitan ng laboratory fertilization process.
Well, tama ka dyan, Dayan. Para mas maging pamilyar po tayo sa proseso ng IVF, ating po makakasama ngayong umaga si Dr. Mark McKelvey mula Medical Director ng Fertility Philippines. Morning, Doc. Welcome sa Rise and Shine Pilipinas.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you for joining us. All right, for those who are not familiar with IVF, can you explain to us what IVF and how does the process go?
Yes, so IVF is in vitro fertilization, which is what we call an assisted reproductive technology. In other words, a technique designed to help individuals have babies if they can't do it through the normal way. So that is couples with infertility, subfertility, but it could be individuals, it could be LGBT couples, but also the technology allows for egg freezing. So if you're a younger woman but you want to put off having a child into the future, you can plan, you can freeze your eggs at an earlier stage and then go on to have children later on. In terms of the process, well, essentially you're trying to replicate what happens in nature. You need eggs and you need sperm to fertilize them together. Then you have your embryos, and the embryo is then transported back into the uterus, and hopefully that leads to a pregnancy. So you're just basically doing that process, but in a lab.
Okay.
So for elderly women, this is safe. And do you need the medication during the process?
Yes, so to get eggs you will need stimulation essentially, which are injections and tablets that stimulate as many eggs at that moment in time, and then we do a procedure to gently remove those eggs. Under the microscope, then the embryologist will fertilize with sperm, watch them grow into embryos, and hopefully they're healthy embryos, they can be tested. And then once the lady is ready, we can then transfer that embryo back. And you're absolutely right. The technology now is very advanced. It's very safe. Older and older women are going through IVF for a variety of reasons, and on the whole have a very good positive experience from it.
All right. So is there like an age limit for those who are candidates for IVF?
That's a good question. There's a limit biologically when it comes to getting your own eggs. Okay, so women unfortunately don't make eggs throughout their lifetime. They're born with a fixed number of eggs, about 2 million. And by the time they get to their early 40s, they're probably down to about 1,000 eggs.
Okay.
But they're not new eggs. And that's why fertility naturally declines with time. Men make sperm continuously. That's not a problem for men. And so if you want your own biological children, we need to get eggs from you, and that becomes less possible as you get older. But if you have an egg donor, for example, or you use one of the new technologies such as PNT, you can rejuvenate the egg, and you as an older lady could carry. So we have a lady recently who was 51 years old.
Okay.
51, who for the first time has become pregnant through IVF.
Wow.
So it's not the ability to carry, but it's the quality and the number of eggs that we can get in the first place. That's the main thing.
Well, doctor, is there any side effect during the procedure or medication?
No, it's fairly safe. There are mild side effects. So when you're using these hormones to stimulate the ovaries, you can get a little bit of discomfort, you can get a little bit of bloating, you can get mood changes associated with hormonal changes, but it's generally a very safe, well-tolerated procedure.
All right. So who will carry the baby? The biological mother or also a surrogate mother? Can
Yes,
also
in
carry that?
theory, anyone can carry. It comes down to the individual circumstances, of course. There are reasons why a lady might not be able to carry herself. She's had previous surgery, she's had a hysterectomy, she has other problems, in which case a surrogate is someone who obviously then carries on behalf of the mother. So that's also an option for individuals as well.
All right. So how about the success rate of IVF?
Yeah, that's a very good question. On average, the success rate is around 20 to 30%. Okay, but of course you've got to remember we are dealing with people who have low fertility in the first place. If the conditions are ideal, you've got young eggs, healthy embryos that test genetically well, and you're transferring it into someone who's proven to be pregnant before, so you know that they can carry, then it can be much, much higher. We're talking sort of 70, 80% potentially. But on the whole, the average is about 20 to 30% each time.
Well, this technology is already here in the Philippines, but the question is it affordable?
It's a good question. It's not cheap. It is not cheap. You know, at the end of the day, we are, certainly at our clinic, we're trying to follow the latest technology and the latest standards from the US and Europe. We use, you know, the best medications really on the market. So yes, it is a bit of an expense, but for a lot of people, this is, you know, it's a last attempt often to have their own child, and it's worth it, I think. Yeah.
But if you talk about the recommended age, like for instance, I would like to freeze my eggs. What age should I freeze my eggs?
Well, if you want to freeze your eggs, the earlier is better. Remember, you don't make new eggs. So if, for example, you're 37 years old, your eggs are 37 years old as well. Probably a little bit older, actually. So we know that the success of IVF in a large part depends on the quality and the age of your egg. So if you are thinking of freezing, do it early. And thinking about approaching a fertility clinic, if you're struggling with fertility, do it earlier rather than later, because time is against you, really. Seek out the help from those doctors and get worked up from an early stage. It gives you the maximum chance of having success.
All right.
Okay, and lastly, Doc, for couples who might be unsure if they need help, when is the right time to consider seeing a fertility specialist?
Yeah, it's a good question, because most couples will conceive naturally within 2 years of trying. But if you have underlying problems, gynecological problems, previous surgery, endometriosis, this can always reduce your fertility. It's better to then seek help early, because you don't want to be waiting for years and then go see a specialist. So better to go earlier rather than later.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing your expertise about IVF, and it's a good option and alternative for those who really want to have a child. Like what Doc Mark said, if you're single, if you're part of LGBT, or if you have fertility issues, this is the way to go. IVF is here, and we have the technology already here in the country. Thank you so much,
Thank you very much.
Dr. McKelvey.
Thank you.